So, I was thinking about this today, and it hit me. Most of us are basically trying to run a marathon in flip-flops every time we sit down to read something important. We just dive into a dense book or a massive report, and then we wonder why our brain feels like it's hitting a wall 10 minutes in.
That's a perfect way to put it. We treat reading like this isolated thing our eyes do, but it's actually an entire cognitive system. If you don't build the foundation first, you're essentially fighting your own biology before you even turn page.
Right, and that's the big problem we're looking at today. Why does reading often feel like such a slog? We have all these high-performance goals, but we're working against a brain that's easily distracted or just plain tired. So, how do we actually prepare to read in a way that doesn't feel like a chore?
It helps to think of it like a deep sea dive. Before you ever hit the water, you have to stand on the dive deck and check your gear. If you want that treasure at the bottom, you need a warm suit, a light, and you need to know exactly what the treasure chest looks like so you don't just swim right past it. In this model, the dive deck is your external environment.
Okay, the environment. I get that. But I've read in bed, in noisy coffee shops, it's not always a perfect setup. Does it really matter that much?
It matters more than you'd think because of our working memory. Most people don't realize that our brains can really only juggle about 7 pieces of information at a time in that active, working slot. If you're in a cramped chair, or the lighting is so dim you're squinting, your brain is actually using up some of those limited slots just to manage that physical discomfort. It's like trying to download a huge file while you have 20 other tabs open and running in the background. You're slowing down the main task.
Wow, I never thought of it as using up slots. So, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm literally making myself dumber for that session?
Essentially, yes. Your processing power is diverted. That's why the first step is clearing the deck, finding that calm setting, whether it's a favorite armchair or even your bed, as long as it's a place where your body isn't sending "help me" signals to your brain.
And what about sound? I know people who can't stand silence, and others who need a sensory deprivation tank to focus.
It's highly individual. Some people need that absolute silence, while others thrive with white noise or nature sounds. There are even tools like a brainwave generator, basically a way to use specific audio frequencies to help your brainwaves sync up for deep focus. Think of it like sealing the hatch on your dive bell. If you're in a loud office, noise-canceling headphones aren't just a luxury. They create a microenvironment that protects your attention from the energy of the room.
Okay, so deck is clear, headphones are on. Now we get to the actual navigation, right? The internal stuff.
Exactly. This is where most people fail because they dive in without coordinates. You need to prime your brain's filtering system. The quickest way to do this is something called the 2-minute stare. Before you start, you look at the title or the cover and ask yourself, what is my goal here? What do I expect to find?
Wait, hold on. 2 minutes just staring at a cover? That feels like a waste of time when I have a stack of papers to get through.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like when you decide you want to buy a specific car. Let's say a red Mini Cooper, and suddenly you see them at every intersection, right? They were always there, but you've finally told your brain to see them. By setting a specific goal before you read, you're telling your brain to prioritize relevant information and ignore the fluff. Without that goal, your mind starts to wander, and you end up regressing, which is that annoying habit of reading the same paragraph 3 times because you weren't actually paying attention.
I do that all the time. It's like my eyes are moving, but my brain is thinking about what's for dinner.
That's the regressing. The 2-minute stare directs your mental energy, so you stay on track. It's particularly powerful in high-stakes scenarios. Imagine a lawyer who has 20 minutes to review a massive brief. They don't just start at page 1 and hope for the best. They clear their desk, they set their goal. I need the 3 main precedents. And that focus acts as a manual override for the ticking clock.
So it's about being intentional. But what about the feeling of reading? Sometimes I'm just too stressed to focus, even if I have a goal.
That's where the state of relaxed vigilance comes in. It's that sweet spot where you're alert but not stressed, sort of like a daily trance. Think about when you're stopped at a red light. You're relaxed, maybe daydreaming, but the split second that light turns green, you're on it. You're alert without being tense.
I like that. How do you actually get into that state on purpose, though?
There's a bit of a mental trick for it. Imagining an apple balanced at the back of your neck. It sounds weird, but it helps center your focus and signals your nervous system to move from scattered mode into mission mode. It's about managing that internal pressure.
Okay, I can see the value here, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second. Some people would say that if a book is actually good, it should just grab you. Why do we need all these mental gymnastics and apple on the neck tricks? Shouldn't a well-written book do the work for us?
That's a common critique, but it ignores the reality of how we were raised to learn. For many of us, years of painful school experiences turned reading into a chore. Our brains are literally wired for distraction because we've associated learning with stress. This preparation model is actually a way to fix that neuroplasticity, to turn reading back into a pleasure association. We aren't robots. We have energy dips and bad moods. These techniques are a manual override to get us back into the dive, even when we aren't feeling 100%.
So it's less about fixing the book and more about fixing our reception of it. Like tuning a radio to the right frequency so you actually hear the music instead of the static.
Exactly. And it's a skill that grows. If you stick with this, say, for 30 days, it starts to become automatic. In the first week, you might just focus on your desk and your chair. By week 2, you're setting goals for every email you read. By day 30, you're dropping into that relaxed vigilance state almost instantly, like a pro diver who knows exactly how to equalize their pressure the moment they hit the water.
And I guess the real test is if you can explain it to someone else.
Definitely. Teaching it, maybe showing a colleague who's drowning in reports how to do the 2-minute stare, actually cements the habit for you. It's the learning by doing principle. It reinforces your own mental map.
This whole phase is really just the foundation for everything else, isn't it? The speed reading, the memory tricks, none of it works if the preparation is skipped.
Right. It's about respecting your brain's limits so you can eventually push past them. If you skip the prep, you're just a person in flip-flops staring at a mountain. But with it, you're ready for the dive.
I love that. So, next time you have something big to read, don't just jump in. Stop. Clear the deck. Balance that mental apple. Set your coordinates.
Just remember that image. You're standing at the edge of a crystal clear ocean. Your gear is checked, your oxygen is full, and you have a bright, golden compass in your hand pointing exactly toward the treasure. That's the power of preparation.
Happy diving, everyone.